G'day guys, welcome back to another Return to Moria video. This one we're going to be breaking down the second trailer that they've released during the Summer Games Fest this year. This one we're going to be talking about when the early access is going to be, when do we expect to see this game, and all the other goodies that we're finding out with this trailer that they haven't spoken about yet. So strap in, it's going to be a good one. So the first thing we're going to notice in this trailer is that John Rhys-Davies has returned as the voice of Gimli. Now they kind of confirmed in the last one that Gimli does play a small part of it, as he is rallying all the dwarves to come together to return to Moria to take back their homeland. The first scene we see this is that they're standing at the doors of Durin, which is not like in the movies where they're destroyed but they are still intact, but they're just slammed shut. You can see there on the side that there seems to be a side entrance for them to get in there, so maybe this is how we first enter and then we have to come back through, or this is where we've exited after being able to grant access through the main entry. The first thing that I really see in this next scene is the shield next to the skeleton. When looking at this, I kind of get like ancient Roman shields there. You're going to see a few more of them throughout the whole scene, so I take it that they took a lot of inspiration from the dwarves, some Roman architecture and weapons and stuff like that, and you're going to see more of it as we go on. The next scene you see is that the bridge of Khazad-dûm has been repaired and that they seem to be going for. This is where Gandalf was fighting the Balrog and Felon when the bridge broke. But now you can see that it is repaired and that the team is walking across it to enter into Moria. In this next scene here, you can see that they're walking into a large area, and a couple things that really picked my eye is that the crystals there on the wall and that they have a glow to them. Now, I don't believe that this would be mithril. I wouldn't believe it'd be so easy and so mass to find, seeing as it was such a rare gem to come by, but also such a strong item, so it won't just be hanging around. My thoughts on these is that these crystals are going to help to use for luminescence for some sort of item, but I could be totally wrong and that could be mithril. The next thing that really caught my eye was that the bridge up top there, it seemed to have been destroyed. So I reckon part of the game mechanics will be that you have to rebuild the bridges so then you can get into new areas and unlock as you go. So you can sort of build your own bridge to get to the next area, so you can either restrict that area for yourself for a bit, or you can go ahead and start getting into some harder areas. It'd be really interesting to see what happens there. Another thing we see is the barrels down in the right corner with some mushrooms there. Now maybe these barrels are where our loot will be able to come from, or do we break these down and get wood, because wood for torches and for burning stuff will be quite interesting, and how they integrate this into a cave sort of game, and we'll see how that works. And as I was just saying before guys, you see that the bridge is being built and that the team are now crossing it and jumping over it, so I believe that this is something to do with how we progress in the game and unlock new areas, which is really cool to see. Again, more crystals there, and there is more mushrooms on the ground, which I'll have a small theory on them, but I'll get back to that one later. The next scene you can see is that the main character is pushing through and digging his own area. This will unlock a whole bunch of new areas for us, and we'll be able to see if we can build our own area. Maybe we'll be able to mine something in there. As you can see in behind him, there's also some more mushrooms on the ground for something that glows. So when he breaks into the new area, presumably you can see these 5 statues. The thing that really piques my interest is that what's in the middle statue's hand there, that glowing item, maybe that's part of our next questing, is to fulfill or to rebuild or reforge something in there. Maybe you have to reforge a golden item and put it in the hand, and it'll sort of reclaim this area, because the whole thing about Moria is about reclaiming and retaking back this area. I reckon that this and another mechanic up ahead are part of that situation of being able to retake Moria and restore it to its former glory. Now this really interesting next part here is where everyone is digging away. You can see that there's scaffolding that them standing on and mining items. You can even see on the right there that someone's climbing up a rope ladder, which would be really cool to see and use. Then also the glowing mushrooms are still here. Are they a food source? Are they something else? I'm really interested and really want to dive into these mushrooms and see what they're all on about. We're going to see more of this dark, mysterious, magical area that's been locked off. With all the skeletons laying around, we can only presume that it is from the dwarves trying to protect it at all costs, trying to maybe keep out the goblins and orcs to stop it from opening up such dangers. Maybe they sealed it back all these years ago. A lot of things have been lost to time within Moria, and the guys have spoken about it during their Q&A with Matt from Nerd of the Rings, and how they're just rediscovering old technology again. Not that it's like shiny and new, but they're rediscovering lost past technology. So this is probably something like it. We've seen concept art for this before, so this is really tying back into it. Maybe there could be some mysteries of Shadows in the Deep that we're not meant to unlock, but we probably will have to get to new areas. You can see here that building of tower there and they're standing up top with some crossbows. This is where I'm sort of coming back to reclaiming Moria. Maybe there's an area that you have to defend rather than just defending your own home base. I believe that this would be something like that. So it's really interesting to see why there's guard towers around and how do we utilize them? Do we have to build them in certain areas to fend off orcs? Maybe we make too much noise and then they decide to investigate it and attack us and it's just defense. Or it's something about reclaiming it and we have to build towers up to claim that area of Moria. The next scene, you're going to see some dwarves walking past with barrels on their shoulders. Most presumably ale could be explosives for mining, but the big item on the right makes me think it's some sort of brewing station there for ale, as you're going to see in the later shot of this one a little in a different angle. Now you can see that they're all building up things around and there's quite a lot to go through, so I'll break down each little bit and soon talk about it and sort of have our theories on it and what they mean and what they can be used for. So you can see that there's beds, so we're going to be able to have to sleep and rest to get our stuff up. At the end of them, a storage chest. We've seen the beds and storage chests before in the first trailer. I'll quickly show that now so you can refresh yourself on that. The next thing are the armor stands next to them, or maybe they're training dummies. But I sort of seem to think they probably are like more armor stands, but it's really cool to see what we use them for. There's going to be shields on the wall as well, which is again probably another like a weapon stand, which you can see all the way on the right there with some sweet swords and some axes. In the back corner, it looks like a pile of sticks, so maybe this is where we get our wood source from and how we use this. And then the big part there in the top middle is what the oak sort of brewing station I was talking about. So that's it just from a different angle, as you can see. Next to it, a couple little forging things, unsure what they're for, but maybe it's smeltings of different metal and how we work different metals. On the far right, you can see some more crafting stations with some torches there, so perhaps when the torch is crafted you just leave it there rest until we get to use it. And in the middle there's some more mushrooms growing around the fireplace there, so maybe we'll be able to cook some food there, or it's just there to keep warmth and light to boost morale and happiness. There's a little sawmill looking off to the side there, so maybe that's where we can then change our wood to maybe refined wood, or sort of break up bigger logs to sticks and use them, or cutting up logs into firewood and stuff like that. So there's a lot to process here, a lot to see, and I'm really excited to see how I can build this and how I can use this to make it look really grand as a dwarf would. Now, some really cool scenes of sweeping through the areas. You can see an orc there up to the top, and then this main character seems to turn around. Looks like it's from possibly a cut scene, but as you can see on his head, as soon as I see it, all I can think about is more Roman legion sort of styles. So I think a lot of their inspiration of weaponry and armor have come from the Roman times, and maybe it could be also used with something else. But again, really looking forward to seeing what else they sort of take from Roman inspiration. You now see that the cave troll's fighting a guy with a really sweet helmet on some long horns there. I wonder how often these are, or how hard they're going to be, how many there will be. So this is going to be so sweet to see. Then we get some sweet combat footage of dwarf rolling around. You're going to see them do a lot of rolls throughout this whole thing. It seems to be their main way of dodging an attack because I don't see a shield. So they also use a crossbow. So that's another weapon. We've seen the bows in the watchtower. Now we've seen the crossbow here fighting. And then the main thing that's really grabbing my attention is these sort of the hologram sort of outlined silhouettes around this main pillar rock here. Maybe that's something we have to craft, or maybe it's something of indicating where you need to mine, so then we can get some special materials and so on and so forth. Now this next scene here shows the Watcher. Now, this is what you'll probably see from the first Lord of the Rings when they enter Moria. This has now gone into some deep caverns and come inside Moria, and you now have to fight it. Thing I'm going to point out here, and I'll talk about more towards the end, if you look in the background there, you can see that building, it doesn't look rendered in yet, and it looks like it's only in a grey model stage. And this is where I'll be going to talk more about when I think the release will happen and why, and this is part of my evidence of it. You can now see that they seem to be defending a statue around here and that there's orcs coming up to them. So this is where I now believe that you would have like a watchtower and you'd defend these statues while you're claiming back this area and trying to bring light back to Moria. Now there's also some spiders which we probably linked to the Hobbit and are up from Dol Guldur and in the forest there. They've probably come down to seek refuge out of being pushed from the forest. So maybe that's another sort of different monster. So we got trolls and orcs and spiders and the Watcher. Maybe there could be a Balrog. Maybe there could be something else. We'll see what else they're going to throw our way. And then you get a big boss take a swing at us. So this is my prediction, just a boss. It could be anything, but we'll see. The final scenes here is where the dwarves are standing on some steps, cheering on as if they've had a great victory, and some dwarves walk up to a statue and take a knee in front of it. Supposedly, this could be Durin. Or this could just be a sign of how we now claim areas of going up to it and kneeling. Perhaps there's a secret scroll that teaches us new technology to forge new things or craft new items. Now that we've broken down the trailer, my thoughts on when it's going to return. At the end of the trailer, they say it will come in fall 2023, which is anywhere from the end of September to November for the Northern Hemisphere. I don't believe it will actually come out in 2023. Now, if I redirect attention back to where the grey box sort of building is in the back there, my thoughts is that they've still got a lot of work to be done and that they still are not quite ready for this yet. When we look at the first trailer that released, they did announce that it was going to be coming out in spring 2023. But then on their official site, they just said 2023. Now with this trailer during the Summer Games Fest, they say it's going to be fall 2023. So they're already starting to push it back a little bit. Now, I'm not going to be surprised if it does come out in 2024, but I can say then, I told you so. I'd love to be proven wrong and I'd love for it to come out in 2023. I'm absolutely dying to see it and I can't wait for it to come out. I'm going to be taking a whole bunch of time off work just so I can watch this and play this and experience it and have such a blast with it with everyone else and make some new friends while doing it. So guys, if you want any more information on Return to Moria, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave us a like in the video. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. When the Return to Moria comes out, or if there's any more news, we'll definitely be around to cover it. As I also mentioned at the start of the video, we're talking about their early access. Now, looking into their frequently asked questions, they have no plans for releasing into early access as of yet. They've never ever said that they would, and they never have said that they won't. But they've all said that they've just, at this point in time, that they're not declaring for early access. So unfortunately, there will be no early time to test it. And if it is, it's probably a very close selection of people and that we won't be able to see anything. So we're all going to have to wait for the fall of 2023 for Return to Moria.